2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Smart 7.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, the 4th of January, and it's National Spaghetti Day. And a big happy birthday to Emma McKay, Rick Stein, Labyrinth, and Craig Revel Horwood. It may be a new year, but there's still no end in sight to the strikes. 5 days of strike action began on the railways on Tuesday, with fresh calls for all parties to get back around the negotiating table. RMT members rejected a pay offer last month, but the head of the rail union rejected claims workers are losing support from the public for walking out. Mick Lynch says British workers deserve a square deal and value for money for their labour.
We've woken up working people to the fact that they're being ripped off, that they're underpaid and their conditions are under threat right across our economy and right across our society.
Only a fifth of services are running this week. Transport Secretary Mark Harper's called the walkouts deeply unhelpful and is standing by his new and improved offer.
There's a fair and reasonable pay offer on the table. There's not a bottomless pit of taxpayers' money here.
Network Rail's lead negotiator Tim Shoveler told the BBC he's confident they'll get an agreement with a little more time for the union to assess the deal.
So what we're saying to the RMT is that we know which areas have been misunderstood by some of their members, and we want to make sure that we can work with the RMT now to make clarifications and put the deal out again. Just 2,000 who voted no last time to change their vote, and the deal will pass. So we think that's within touch and distance.
The pressure for the NHS is being labelled as unbearable and intolerable, prompting calls for the government to act. More than a dozen trusts and ambulance services across the country declared critical incidents over the festive period, with flu, COVID and Strep A adding to the crisis. Dr Denise Langor from the British Medical Association told Sky News staff have been working overtime and skipping breaks, but patients have still spent days on corridors in emergency departments.
The situation at the moment is, I think I'd describe it as the worst it's ever been, certainly since I've worked for the NHS. We know every winter it's tough, and it's been getting increasingly tough. But this year, it's like something we've never seen before.
The BMA claims political choices are affecting treatment, but Downing Street insists ministers are doing all they can to tackle the problems. According to former Health Secretary Stephen Dorrell, what would alleviate the pressures is joined up local health and social care systems.
Joining them up and providing more money for social care is actually the quickest single thing the government can do to relieve the pressure on A&E departments and emergency wards in hospitals.
The idea of a peaceful new year went out of the window in Russia's war in Ukraine as both sides launched attacks. In a rare admission of losses, Moscow's admitted 89 of its soldiers died in an attack on a school building used as barracks in eastern Ukraine, but the actual number may be significantly higher. Meanwhile, a French TV broadcast was interrupted by a Russian strike on a town in the Donetsk region. Its reporter had to duck for cover.
Paul, on a Donc j'avais pas vu l'image.
Volodymyr Zelensky believes Russia's getting ready to increase its use of exploding drones which are imported from Iran. He says the idea will be to exhaust the patience of his nation, but he says that approach will fail. He thanked all those fighting for his country.
We must increase the price of new mobilization and war in general for the terrorist state as much as possible. I am grateful to every warrior of ours who ensures this. No matter how difficult it is now, we must endure it for it to be easier at the end of this winter.
Tuesday saw chaos in the US as the House of Representatives failed to elect a speaker, the first time that's happened since 1923. Kevin McCarthy has long hoped to take the job, but infighting between moderate and right-wing Republicans meant he failed to get the votes he needed. Matt Gaetz is one of the MAGA rebels refusing to vote for him.
If you want to drain the swamp, you cannot put the biggest alligator in charge of the exercise. I'm a Florida man and I know of what I speak.
After 3 votes failed to elect a successor to Nancy Pelosi, the House was adjourned and voting will resume again on Wednesday. Mike Lawler's a Republican congressman from New York and spoke after the House was adjourned.
And the only winner here is Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries. These 19 folks are trying to hold the rest of us hostage. And it's not going to work. We are not going to give in to them.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Brazilian football legend Pele's laid to rest, and Ramesh Ranganathan won't be touching co-star Catherine Ryan. Right after this. Welcome back.
3,
Tuesday saw 4 Premier League games, with Arsenal held to a goalless draw by third-place Newcastle as the Gunners dropped their first home points of the season. Brighton, Fulham and Man United all won their games. The eyes of the footballing world, however, were on Brazil as thousands of people lined the streets to pay their respects to Pelé. The 3-time World Cup winner died last week, aged 82. Fans cheered and clapped as his coffin was carried to its final resting place overlooking Santos FC, the pitch that made him famous.
People say that Pelé changed the game, so this is very emotional moment for me.
Football is like a huge part of our culture, so it's amazing.
There will not be another player like him.
He chose the 9th floor of the cemetery, paying homage to his father, who wore the number 9 shirt as a player. FIFA President Gianni Infantino says they want to go one step further to remember the king of football.
But we're also going to ask every country in the world to name one of their football stadiums with the name of Pelé.
Ramesh Ranganathan and Catherine Ryan's new Sky comedy drama Romantic Getaway kicked off this week with the two comics playing a married couple going through IVF. Things go slightly off the rails though after they steal the money to fund it from their boss, played by Johnny Vegas. Ramesh popped up on GMB to explain how he and Catherine are hoping to make the audience believe they're a genuine married couple.
Catherine sort of said that she thinks that we're far along enough in our marriage in the show that we wouldn't touch each other that much.
No more kissing.
No, she said, I just think, you know, you can show affection in different ways.
Prince Harry's back in the spotlight as he's since slating the royal family for remaining silent over attacks against him in the media. He makes the comments in a trailer for a new ITV interview airing on Sunday night. That's just before his autobiography Spare's released. In the short clip, Harry also admits he'd like to have a better relationship with his dad and brother.
It never needed to be this way. The leaking and the planting, I want a family, not an institution. They feel as though it's better to keep us somehow as the villains. They've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile. I would like to get my father back. I would like to have my brother back.
This has been The Smart 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.